You got the call, or you're about to get it, or you are lying in bed at 3 a.m. wondering what happens if the income stops tomorrow. Not forever, just for a while, just long enough to derail everything you have been building. I am Maxine. I am Rich Auntie Knows. And today, I am going to give you the financial safety net that actually works when that moment arrives. Not a complicated one, not one that requires a financial advisor, a premium product, or a restructuring of everything you have built. A five-layer structure, simple, specific, and built from the ground up, that absorbs shocks, protects compounding, and keeps your financial life moving forward regardless of what arrives next. I know what you are feeling right now. You are building something, but it does not feel stable. You are earning, but you are not sure it is enough. You are investing while carrying debt, and you do not know which one to be afraid of first. This is the conversation some of us did not have growing up. Our parents and grandmothers did not have the luxury of learning it together. Secret number one: the safety net is not one thing, it is five layers, and each layer protects a different kind of disruption. The mistake most people make when they think about financial protection is treating it as a single solution. The emergency fund, that is the safety net. Build that. Done. And the emergency fund is essential. It is the first layer, and nothing works without it. But a single layer is not a net, it is a floor. And a floor alone does not catch you when the disruption is larger, longer, or more layered than one account can absorb. A financial safety net has five layers. Each one is designed for a different threat. Each one funds the next without competing with the one that came before it. And together, they create the kind of financial resilience that makes uncertainty manageable. Not because the uncertainty disappears, but because the structure is designed to absorb it before it reaches the parts of your financial life that matter most. Layer one is the immediate buffer. Layer two is the extended emergency fund. Layer three is income protection. Layer four is the investment fortress. Layer five is the debt structure that does not collapse under pressure. Build them in order. Do not skip layers. And do not confuse having one for having all five, because each layer handles a specific scenario that the others were not built for. A safety net is five layers, not one. Each layer protects something different. Build them in sequence, and the structure holds against almost anything. Secret number two: layer one and layer two, the emergency fund built in stages, is the foundation everything else stands on. The first question uncertain times always ask is the same one: what happens if the income stops? Not permanently, for 90 days, for 6 months, for the stretch of time between a job loss and the next stable position. And the answer to that question is entirely determined by what is sitting in a liquid, accessible account before the income stops. Layer one is $1,000 to $2,000, the immediate buffer. This is the amount that absorbs a minor disruption without involving a credit card, a payment plan, or a conversation you dread having. The car repair, the medical copay, the appliance that fails on a Tuesday. Picture the buffer sitting in your checking account as a separate labeled balance. The car repair hits. You move $500 into checking. It is handled. Done. The buffer rebuilds itself. Layer two is 3 to 6 months of essential expenses: housing, utilities, groceries, transportation, minimum debt payments, held in a high yield savings account at a completely separate institution from your checking bank. Not your subscriptions, not your entertainment, the things you cannot not pay. In 2026, high yield savings accounts at institutions like Marcus by Goldman Sachs, Ally Bank, and SoFi are paying between 4.3% and 4.8% annual percentage yield. Picture the account: 3 to 6 months of expenses sitting there. The account earning interest while it waits, not 0.01%, 4.5%. That is $675 a year on a $15,000 fund just sitting and growing while it protects you. Most people do not even know this account exists. The target for layer two is specific to your essential expenses, not your total monthly spending. Calculate those five categories. housing, utilities, groceries, transportation, minimum debt payments. Just those five. Multiply by three for the minimum or six for the more secure target and build toward that number first. Before the Roth IRA is maxed, before the brokerage account is open. The foundation must be poured before the structure goes up. Layer 1 absorbs the small disruption immediately. Layer 2 absorbs the large one for months, both earning interest in 2026 while they wait. Build them before anything else is funded. Secret number 3. Layer 3, income protection, is the layer most people skip and the one that makes every other layer possible to maintain. Here is the layer that the emergency fund conversation almost always omits. The emergency fund covers your expenses when income stops, but it does not replace the income that stopped. And if the income disruption is caused by an illness, an injury, or a disability, rather than a job loss, the emergency fund alone is not the protection the situation requires. Layer 3 is income protection, and it has two components. The first is an updated, functioning resume and a maintained professional network. This is the career safety net that most people let atrophy during stable periods. The average job search in 2026 takes 3 to 6 months for professional roles. An updated resume and an active network does not just make the search faster, it makes the 6 month emergency fund sufficient for the timeline. Because a 3 month search inside a 6 month fund leaves a margin, a 7 month search inside a 3 month fund does not. The second component is disability insurance. This is the protection that most people do not think about until they need it, which is by definition too late to get it affordably. The Social Security Administration estimates that 1 in 4 20-year-olds will experience a disability that prevents work for at least 1 year before they reach retirement age. The average long term disability lasts 2.5 years. An emergency fund covers 3 to 6 months. Disability insurance covers the remaining 24 months, and for a healthy person under 40, a policy replacing 60% of income costs between $30 and $60 a month. That premium is one of the most efficient financial protections available and one of the least purchased. Employer provided short term and long term disability coverage is a starting point, but most employer policies replace only 50% to 60% of base salary and do not cover bonuses or variable compensation. Review what your employer provides and identify the gap. A supplemental individual disability policy closes it. Income protection is the layer that makes the emergency fund sufficient and the investment contribution survivable. Without it, one medical event can exhaust every other layer simultaneously. Build it before the disruption arrives. Secret number 4. Layer 4, the investment fortress, is what makes uncertain times the most productive investing period of your life. Here is the counterintuitive truth about uncertain times and investment portfolios. Uncertainty is not the enemy of long term investing. Volatility is not the enemy of long term investing. The enemy of long term investing is the financial disruption, the job loss, the medical expense, the income gap that forces you to sell investments at the wrong time to cover expenses that a properly built safety net would have absorbed. Layer 4 is the investment fortress. A Roth IRA running at the 2026 maximum of $7,500 a year, $625 a month, in a zero-fee S&P 500 index fund. The employer 401k funded at least to the full match threshold. Contributions automated on the first of the month before any other financial decision has access to those dollars. And a commitment, written down, signed on a calm day, that the investment contributions do not pause, reduce, or stop in response to market volatility or economic headlines. The investment fortress is protected by the layers beneath it. The emergency fund means you never need to sell investments to cover a disruption. The income protection means a disability does not drain the account to pay living expenses. The debt structure, layer 5, means monthly obligations do not crowd out the contribution when cash flow tightens. Each lower layer is a moat around the investment account. The investment account is what they all exist to protect. And here is why uncertain times specifically are the most productive investing period. Market volatility during periods of economic uncertainty produces lower share prices on the same underlying assets. The S&P 500 companies, the businesses that produce the phones, the software, the consumer goods, the healthcare, the infrastructure of modern life, do not stop generating revenue because the headlines are loud. Their share prices fluctuate, their earnings generally continue. The investor who keeps buying during uncertain times accumulates more shares at lower prices. Those shares recover when the uncertainty resolves, and the recovery inside a Roth IRA produces zero tax liability on every dollar of the gain. The investment fortress is protected by the layers beneath it and most productive during the periods that feel most threatening. Keep it funded. Keep it automated. Let the uncertainty work for it rather than against it. Secret number five. Layer five, the debt structure that holds under pressure, is what keeps the safety net intact when everything arrives at once. The final layer of the safety net is not a savings account or an investment vehicle. It is the absence of a specific kind of debt and the intentional management of the debt that remains. High interest debt, credit cards averaging 21.47% in 2026, personal loans at 14% to 18%. Buy now, pay later arrangements that roll into interest charges is the structural weakness in every financial safety net. Picture the credit card statement: 21.47% interest. Every month, the interest consumes part of what you earned. That guaranteed 21.47% return on paying it off is the highest return in personal finance, higher than any investment. When the income disruption arrives, high interest debt does not pause. The minimum payment is still due. The interest is still accruing. And the cash flow that should be flowing into the emergency fund, rebuild, or the investment contribution instead flows into debt service that is consuming more than any investment can return. Layer 5 means zero balances on high interest debt before the other layers are fully built, with one exception. While layer 1, the $1,000 to $2,000 immediate buffer, should be in place before aggressive debt payoff begins, every dollar beyond that buffer should attack high interest debt until it is eliminated. The guaranteed 21.47% return of paying off a credit card is the highest risk adjusted return available anywhere in personal finance. It is not arguable. The debt that remains after high interest elimination, a mortgage at 6.8%, a student loan at 5%, a car payment at 7%, is managed with minimum payments while the investment contribution and the emergency fund build. Below 10% interest, the historical market return of 10% means you are net positive by investing alongside the debt rather than pausing investing to eliminate it. Above 10%, pay it off first. That is the line. Simple, clear, and it holds in every economic environment because it is built on the math of returns rather than the emotion of debt anxiety. High interest debt is the hole in the safety net. Eliminate it before building anything above layer 1. Every other layer is more effective when the debt structure beneath it is not draining cash flow at 21%. The net holds because every layer protects what the one below. It cannot. 5 layers, one structure. The financial safety net that absorbs uncertain times is not a single account or a single product. It is a sequence of protections, each one designed for a specific threat, each one funded in order, each one making the layers above it more stable and the layers below it more recoverable. Layer 1 is $1,000 to $2,000 in an immediately accessible buffer. Layer 2 is 3 to 6 months of essential expenses in a high yield savings account, earning 4.3% to 4.8% in 2026. Layer 3 is an updated resume, maintained network, and disability insurance covering the gap the emergency fund cannot. Layer 4 is the Roth IRA at $7,500 a year in a zero fee index fund, automated, untouched, most productive during the periods that feel most uncertain. Layer 5 is zero high interest debt, with a clear line at 10% between what gets paid off first and what gets managed alongside the investment contribution. Here's your one action for this week. Audit your 5 layers. Layer 1, do you have $1,000 to $2,000 in an immediately accessible buffer? Layer 2, how many months of essential expenses are in a high yield savings account right now? And what is the gap between that number and 3 months? Layer 3, when did you last update your resume? And do you have a disability insurance policy in place? Layer 4, is the Roth IRA open, automated, and funded at the 2026 maximum of $7,500? And is the employer match being captured in full? Layer 5, what is the total balance of every debt charging above 10% interest? One audit, 5 numbers. The gaps between where each layer is and where it needs to be are your complete financial priority list for the next 12 months. 12 months from now, you are opening your account and you see the layers. Layer 1 in place, layer 2 funded, the high interest debt gone, the Roth automated, the structure built, and the next time someone tells you that uncertainty is coming, you do not feel afraid. You feel ready. Share this with a woman in your life who is feeling financially anxious right now and does not know where to start. Your friend who has the investment account but not the emergency fund and does not realize the order matters. Your coworker who is carrying a credit card balance and a Roth IRA simultaneously without understanding that the credit card is consuming the Roth IRA's return. Your sister who has been meaning to look at disability insurance for 3 years and has not done it yet because nothing bad has happened. The safety net is built before the fall, not during it, not after it. Before, start the audit today. You know someone who needs to hear this. Send it to her tonight. Be the somebody who tells her sooner, because somebody should have told us sooner. I will see you in the next video.